Here we are again, friends. And you know what time it is? It's MCU time on Nerdside Champs. The one and only wonderful MCU. And despite Bob Iger's uh, stated marching orders for Kevin Feige to have less content, we have a huge slate lined up for us here of MCU in 2025. In July, we have the Fantastic Four. The trailer just dropped this week, earlier. Coming up in, I think it's March, we have the Thunderbolts. Just dropped this week. Yeah, it was this week. So we have the Thunderbolts coming in March. But before that, you know them, near and dear to at least one heart that will be appearing later. We have Sam Wilson in Captain America Brave New World, also known as Captain America 4, also known as why are they still doing this? So that's where we find ourselves. Open the show. The stated thing was Captain America, and we're going to break down, where we are on Captain America. We do have a lot of comments in the queue. I am Dan, and next to me we do have Tim. Subscribe to at Nerd Champs. And for those of you who are here because John Automates is in the description, we did not lie to you. John is coming, and he will be here. He's a little bit delayed, but he will be dropping in to help us break this stuff down. So,
yeah.
First comment in the queue, Jon Snow knows nothing. I can't decide if Mackie actually feels this way or was just sent out to set up an excuse as to why this project bombed. So, of course, we're talking about the comments that made headlines all last week. We're talking about Anthony Mackie going out and saying that Captain America represents a lot of things, but one of those things doesn't have to, or one of those things shouldn't be America. One of those things isn't America. So let me just say this to start this conversation. I get it. Me and Tim are both former car salesmen. All right. So you send Anthony Mackie, an actor, out in front of a whole crowd of Italians in Rome, and he's in the home of fascism, trying to sell World War II hero Captain America to the home of fascism. So, so maybe you bend a few things about what Captain America is to try to get that over. But man, in a worldwide media environment, you got to know that anytime you're talking to more than like 2 or 3 people, you're not just talking to those people. You're talking to everybody in the whole world all at once, every day. So I don't know. What were you when you found out about this, Tim?
Well, I mean that the headline is the thing that reaches out and grabs you, right? I mean, Captain America shouldn't represent America is the headline. And although that's contextually, okay, I think you look at it in the whole thing. Nobody wants to hear an American lecture in Europe. So I kind of understand that. But the timing of these comments could not have been worse. And it just seems to me like, why was he over there doing interviews 2 weeks removed from this anyway? I guess that's kind of my whole thing. Shouldn't he have been doing a media tour in America trying to get this thing pushed? I don't understand what Marvel's endgame was here. What did they think was going to happen by sending him over there to talk about this? I don't think that this is I don't think that this was wise, and I think that it does almost have the saboteur feel. It almost has that feel to it. Like they're setting this up to be, oh well, you didn't go watch it because Anthony Mackie said something that you didn't like, so therefore you are racist, bigoted, whatever. It has the feel of that, and the reason that we know is because Disney has done this before. This is what they did with The Acolyte. This is what they've done with Snow White. It's what they've done with a whole bunch of other things.
They did it with Agatha.
They did it with Agatha. They were very, very impassioned about these particular projects and the things that they represent politically rather than from an entertainment perspective. And because the people that worked on them were so passionate about the political statements that these things were making, then it became a situation where the political statements were more important than the actual projects. And that when you get to that point, when you're making a movie and the movie isn't about the movie, you need to kind of take a step back and rethink things. You need to think, am I doing this for all the right reasons? Okay. Comic book people, we don't want much out of our comic books. I don't need a preachy lesson out of my comic books. And I know that people are going to say, oh, comic books had political agendas and lessons from decades back. And that might be true, but I feel like those things were still kind of hidden under the surface. They weren't as stated and out and just out there. This is basically coming right out and tying politics to the movie that you just made. And this is why The Acolyte bombed, and that this is why Snow White is going to bomb. I just don't understand exactly what they were thinking here. So,
all right.
Let's take a look and see what our friend John has to say.
Joining us live, we do have John Automates, and
how goes it?
We're going good. We're
it goes.
About, Mackie stepping in it in Italy, and the comments. So
yeah.
For those of you who don't know, the three of us are in a group chat, and it was one of the things I think we all were surprised when we saw it. It was like 2 weeks removed from the release date. What are we doing? You know what I mean? So I don't know, John, what do you think? What was your initial reaction?
Yeah.
I get the whole, because I'm in another country, let's try to relate to this other country and everything like that. But in trying to relate to this other country, you trashed the namesake of the character and the country you're from. How you managed to do it, and there are people out there who said he realized it midway through, and they kind of show his reaction a little bit after he said it, and he tried to clean it up. And I do believe he did realize it midway through, but it's Captain America, man. Like you're why?
Yeah. Like when you're selling something, like you can get verbal diarrhea when you're trying to sell, but this is not Captain America 1. This is Captain America 4. Italy's been sold 3 other Captain America movies. They know who Captain America, they know the concept. You would think ostensibly the hardest sell would be Captain America First Adventure, where he's literally in World War II killing fascist Italians.
You would think. I don't know why he did that. And now it's all of the retroactively like that they're showing America First commercials now, basically for the movie, and they're showing him going to the Air Force base, and they did a whole vignette of him jumping out of a plane now, and they got the Ramirez kid who's going to be the new Falcon. They got him training, and it's turned very pro-America now, all of their marketing, so it looks even crazy.
I
don't know.
Do you think, because see, that flies in the face of the other idea, is that Disney does run the play, and this was after the initial pre-sales numbers were coming back, and they have a better idea of how many tickets are being pre-sold than is being reported. And Disney does a thing where if they don't have confidence in a project and the early reviews look like it's going to tank,
they set up the excuse.
They send it out there to accuse everybody ahead of time of being racist, sexist, homophobic. Do you think that was
can't do that this time?
No,
you can't do that this time. Because you can't scream racism at all, right? Because you have Anthony Mackie, who already has been accepted by the MCU audience. This isn't some new character that you just brought on that people aren't accepting. Like, we know who he is, and people like him. It's not like people like him. So that you can't do that. And Disney, you decided to release it during Black History Month. We didn't ask for it to come out during that time. You decided to do that. That's fine. And Captain America, Falcon does take up the mantle at some point in the comics. It's a short run, but it does happen. And it's like, we could accept these things. But yeah, you can't blame any of that. Like, no one's going to be going for that these days. Good luck getting black people to go for that. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, the black Captain America has to be the Captain America who doesn't like America. It's like, come on, really?
Yeah. And it kind of spits in the face of a lot of you would think they wouldn't do that because of the Isaiah storyline. Because the Isaiah storyline is a person who literally, despite all of the things that he had to go through, still believed in America at its core. So if that guy can believe in it, why would it's like,
it's just it's just a guy trying to sell stuff to fascists. He's in fascist home country, and he's like, how am I gonna sell Captain America? I guess.
Oh, it backfired greatly.
And that was something we were talking about right before you hopped on. Why was he even over there 2 weeks removed from the premiere? I guess that's the thing that, he should have been doing nothing but promotion in America. I mean, we've got the Super Bowl coming up this weekend. We've got all kinds of other opportunities where he could have been on late night TV. He could have been on doing everything to push this movie. He didn't do anything. He was over in Europe talking bad about our country. It's just weird, man. It's just weird.
All right.
So, oh no.
Thug Dog, our second comment in the queue was, is anyone defending Cap 4? So here's the thing.
Not on this panel, I don't think.
What? No.
I mean, I don't.
I think Automates you had hope for this film. Do you still have hope it could be a good movie?
Yeah, I have hope that it could be a good movie. It's hard to defend Cap 4, so I don't think anybody's truly defending it because it's almost impossible to do so. I think I've on record saying I think it's going to be a better movie than Thunderbolts, and I think it's going to be a better movie than Fantastic Four. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't have any problems being wrong on that. But I do think it'll be better for the simple fact that we know the character and we have some semblance of the story, and they have a way to connect it to past events, whether that's going to be for good or for worse or for bad. We'll see. But I think it can still do something, but it might end up being terrible.
I don't see it being good. I don't see it being good. Dan and I have talked at length about legacy versions of characters. We just don't like them. I think that the public typically, it's diminishing returns every time you do a legacy character. Okay, you do a legacy character, there's always going to be somebody that says, that's not my blank, right? That's not my Captain America. That's not my Batman. That's not my Flash. That's kind of where I think this is going to be. This is already a character who I think, it was already a character that had been very well established, played very, very well by Chris Evans. Now we've passed the mantle along. I just don't see it being something that's going to be universally accepted. And the amount of rewrites that we know about for this film and reshoots, I just don't know how it can be any good. I mean, I can be pleasantly surprised. I can be. There are movies I thought would be bad that haven't been that bad, but I don't see it. I mean, Dan, what do you see?
I'm never excited for the second gen of a character, of the mantle passing. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't care if it's Dick Grayson. I'm just never. Yeah, but I was ready for Sam as Cap because Marvel, we all forget now that when Falcon and Winter Soldier came out around that time, Marvel still had a really strong track record. Like, you know what I'm saying? They had not dumped a whole bunch of bad on us at that time. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not usually good with like the second generation guy, but the MCU hasn't let me down. I like Sam. I like Mackie. So, and that I'm saying that because I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Tim will tell you, if I don't think it's going to be good, I will not watch it. I just somebody has to swear, somebody I know and trust has to have seen it and swear it's actually good before I will watch it.
That's fair.
I won't watch it. If I think it's bad, I need somebody to swear to me it's good before I'll watch it. And I watched Falcon and Winter Soldier just straight up because I thought it was going to be good. And I know you like that show, John, at least aspects of it.
I like everything but the last two episodes.
Yeah. the whole show just drove me nuts. I gotta tell you, like the whole thing, arguing about what Steve would think drove me nuts because I'm just yelling at the TV that he's not dead. Like, call him, just pick up the phone and call Steve. He's an old man, but I'm sure he doesn't have Alzheimer's. I think the super soul thing would help that. You know, I'm like, why don't you just
Dan?
I
like
forgot. I forgot. He's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's old.
Well,
Dad, you might have ruined the show for me.
Yeah.
But the thing
whole
about it
show
is that
acts like he's dead. It's like they sell it so hard that you forget he's alive.
yeah.
Wow.
The funniest part.
You have
The
to play
funniest
back
part
in
about
game.
that show. The funniest part about this show is that I actually think that in concept it could have worked really well.
Oh,
And that's why I came into it. And actually the front half of the show was very action packed and actually had some good suspense and some good hooks episode to episode. I agree with John. The back half is where it all fell apart. And that was something that I just cannot forgive.
Oof,
but the rest, like the first 4 episodes, I was still there. Now look, I kind of had qualms where the Flag Smasher is going to be a big thing because I really was not into them. Okay, all that, but this story right here, when that story started to kind of fall apart, is when I kind of started to say, oh no, I think this is the direction all of Marvel is going to go now. You know what I mean? I just as soon as it got to the point where things were not making sense, like he's picking up a car without taking super serum, and when he gives the speech at the end, and the whole thing with Isaiah Bradley, explaining the atrocities that were done to him, all of that stuff was just to the point where I was like, this is what Marvel's going to be. And it has been that ever since. I feel like the back half of that show, Marvel never recovered. And that's the biggest problem I had.
The problem with the Isaiah thing and the Flag Smashers is it was almost as if the show was trying to tackle issues of the past, present, and future all at once.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the future stuff, a lot of it isn't even real. And a lot of it's kind of made up.
Yeah, the
and
blip.
These people are actually they're actually not good people. Like we're just gonna act like they haven't been taking people out.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, like that's
okay.
The
blips and the non-blips. It's like the Starbelly Sneetches all over again. And it's like, I don't need social lessons like that from fictitious social groups. I don't need that.
And the Isaiah thing didn't have to be a social lesson. That should have just been a history lesson. And I think that would have been fine. I think it's the fact that they tried to make it a social lesson and they did it in the worst way possible, because it was the whole, like, I think that's interesting history. I think a lot of people would say, yeah, that's interesting history, and low-key kind of messed up. Like, not low-key, high-key, very messed up. But then the whole thing of like, oh, but it's still going on today. And how do we know? Because Falcon can't get a home loan. Yeah. You're like,
dude,
it's like he doesn't have multiple billionaires. Like he doesn't have the phone numbers of multiple billionaires on tap. You know what I mean? Like,
this isn't,
come on, man.
This isn't Peter Parker or somebody who literally, like, Falcon is a retired vet.
Okay. The very first scene of the very first episode clearly establishes that he is still doing wet work for the government.
Yeah.
He's still running. So you don't do that for free. You get paid to do that.
Getting 2 paychecks.
Yeah.
He's getting 2 paychecks.
He's a contractor. They have some made up job for these secret missions that he's doing, like you collect a check. So and now he has income? No.
We've gone down the rabbit hole of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so I'm just going to bring this up because it's ready to go. The funniest part to me is he goes and sits down to get the bank loan, and the bank guy recognizes him right away. But he goes to Madripoor, and they say, "Oh, you kind of look like this other guy. Just pretend you're him." And nobody in Madripoor knows who one of the freaking Avengers is. Okay, it's like, come on, guy. Like, I can suspend disbelief with the best of them, but you're just messing with common sense at this point. So yeah,
it's not like Rhodey where his whole face is covered. We
Yeah.
see. What? Huh?
The Avengers don't save America; they save the whole world.
The world.
They're gonna be famous everywhere. If Michael Jordan is famous on the whole planet for playing basketball, then Sam is famous on the whole planet because he saved the whole world.
For playing basketball in the 90s when we didn't even have social media and internet and all those things like that. Now,
Yes.
No, come on. Yeah. It's
So,
okay. Sam and Bucky had two arguments. And one was, what would Steve think? And that drove me nuts. And the other one was, take the super soldier serum. No. And then Bucky never said, well, why not? Not one time. And that could have been an interesting conversation. Why don't you want to take it, Sam?
And that was a whole other wrinkle. Wyatt Russell and U.S. Agent and then Captain America. And that it was a busy storyline, and it made the same mistake as Spider-Man 3. Whenever storylines get too busy, too many villains, too many side things. You had the whole thing with the Wakandans. You had Baron Zemo. You had, it was just all over the place, man. When you have all that kind of stuff, it's just too busy. People can't focus on it, and it all falls apart because it's not going to be meshing with each other. And now that's all that stuff that they tried to bring us back to in the back half. It's all screwing up what we're looking at now. This is why Cap 4 is going to be bad. It's going to be bad because of all the stuff that they're trying to clean up and make sense from that stupid show.
That's what they're doing with everything in Marvel. They've been cleaning up everything. They mess up a new thing. They spend like the first half cleaning stuff up, and then the second half of every project making new mistakes. Like that's ever since Endgame. You know,
that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna go on to the next comment. That it always just and then I did want to say they missed the lowest of low hanging fruit because the biggest trope in all of streaming TV series is around episode 6 or 7, you jump back and you have an entire flashback episode.
Yeah,
we didn't get the Isaiah Bradley flashback episode. Like it's just sitting right there for you to do it.
Disney didn't get their own memo. They didn't get their own memo.
I mean, every show does it in all of streaming, but they just didn't do it. So Barry Allen is slow. I hate that I'm about to watch this movie next week. I feel like Kevin Bacon and Animal House they might have another. Yeah. Again, unless and now John still has hope.
I've been hurt so many times. I have no standards.
If one of these guys if one of these guys gets in the text chain and tells me, no, it's actually good, you should see it, I will see it. But if John's like, oh, I'm so disappointed, it wasn't good, and Tim's like, oh man, it was awful in 6 different ways, then I will never see it. So I'm not Kevin Bacon.
I'm convinced it's going to take a lot for me to like anything. So I don't know. We'll see.
I'm very worried about the Giancarlo Esposito scenes. Mm-hmm. Because if those rumors of him being by himself are true, it's going to be so obvious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the trailer, it looks that way.
It literally looks like by himself. That way. Things are blowing up and everything, and it's
there's like a car and him, and there's nobody else around.
And it'll look even worse because literally 10 years ago or so with Winter Soldier, more than 10 years ago, when Winter Soldier is chasing Natasha and Steve through the street, you see all those pedestrians running and everything. There's people, so there's something happening before everybody clears out, and it's now it's like scene. Everybody, it's gonna look weird. It's gonna be like, oh well, how come we could do it so much better over a decade ago?
That season,
John,
that scene that
only
started
spent $180 million.
Yeah, right.
So
craziness.
The scene that John's referencing from Civil War is one of the things that I as soon as I saw the promo for that scene, I said, "Oh boy, this is going to be good." You know,
you mean Winter Soldier?
Winter Soldier,
when they're running,
or Winter Soldier, yeah. I mean, those are the things you can just tell. You're just like, oh my goodness, they're really getting committed to it, you know, and they're gonna turn it into something special. And it just, you know, it kind of continued throughout all of the other movies until we get to what we've got recently. And I don't see those kind of things in a promo anymore. Anytime I see a trailer, I don't see those kind of things anymore. And that gets disappointing.
The other problem, John, is that me and Tim are actually kind of low key. We don't root for any Marvel project. We kind of in the back of our mind want them all to fail because we think that they're way overdue for a reboot. And any minor success that they have pushes that reboot further down.
No,
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
It's
I
just
totally
it's just
understand
like
that.
when like Dan's a Bengals fan, you know what I mean? And if the
No, I'm sorry.
Bengals make the wild card round, they're not going to fire Zach Taylor. That's just all there is to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we made the playoffs. What
Plus,
else
we
do
don't
you
get a
want?
good
Well, we
draft
would like a
pick.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, you don't get
You
a good
know,
draft
and-
pick. You keep the same coach. And,
Yeah,
but you just never make it to the big game. That's what Marvel's doing now. They just never make it to the big game anymore.
You know, they're content being a wild card franchise, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they want.
Weren't you the same guy slurping up guns gravy about Superman last week?
I wasn't.
Why is this movie better than this one? So
that's not what we were doing. Okay, go back and watch it again, dude. Like, that's not what we were doing. Dan and I basically said we have hope for the franchise. We're not writing it off. That's all we said. We didn't say Gunn is some unspeakable genius and he can't do any wrong or any of that kind of stuff. That's not what we said at all. So go back and watch it again. I can cut the tape for you if you'd like. But Dan and I basically said that this is going to be something that gives us hope, and we're not writing it off just yet. Dan, go ahead.
I think John has less hope for Superman.
I do have less hope for Superman. I say that as a person who is a Man of Steel lover, so maybe I'm just a hater on that front, but I just don't see it. I think I still hope it'll be good, just because I do hope that DC, if they can't get this going, then it's really going to hurt their overall, just the entire company, really. So I wanted to do well just off the basis of I would like to see more DC projects, but I'm unsure.
Yeah, I don't. I'm really holding out hope because I think that a good DC universe is just, it's inevitable. It's going to happen sooner or later. There are just too many high value projects at their disposal that they can't just keep whiffing over and over again. They've got James Gunn. I think he's the right guy in charge. He seems to be going a different direction than just so anyway. But the reason that I have no hope for this movie relative to that movie is I think that there's a lot of reasons. This is a legacy character, not the original character. They have not done justice in the promotion. We now know that Harrison Ford is only going to be in a very, very brief window of the movie. That's all the stuff that they were selling. Yeah, all the stuff that they were selling us was just not what we want.
Now here's, like, when they say Red Hulk is in the movie for around 4.5 minutes, right? They're talking full on Red Hulk. Now you're not combining Thunderbolt Ross scenes and scenes of the actual Red Hulk to get to 4.5 minutes. I hope. Well, do you guys think that might be what they're saying?
No, I think it's actual 4 minutes of Red Hulk. The problem is I think 2 of those 4 minutes are him transforming.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
So they're going on American Werewolf in London with the transformation.
And if you remember that my biggest complaint, there were several complaints, but my biggest complaint with Ang Lee's Hulk is it was the Chekhov's gun. Sooner or later, you just gotta turn him into the Hulk, man. We know what the movie is. You know what I mean? And he drug it on and on and on. If people already know from the trailer and already know from who Thunderbolt Ross is that he's going to be Red Hulk, you just got to pull the Band-Aid off and do it early in the movie and make it a thing. They're not going to do that, and I think it's a mistake. But
everybody knows, because I mean, the Red Hulk looks exactly like Harrison Ford, like to a weird extent. So I mean, I don't think anybody.
But they couldn't. The problem with the promotion for the Red Hulk is it means they didn't believe in it enough to sell it on Mackie alone. And that kind of sucks. I mean, DC did the exact same thing. For some reason, DC decided to do that with Batman versus Superman by giving Doomsday as if you couldn't sell it on Batman versus Superman alone. And they added Wonder Woman in there. So all of the surprises were gone. And I think the same thing is happening here, where the surprise is gone. And having a new Falcon, nobody really cares about Ramirez as the new Falcon. That's not going to do anything. So unless there's some surprise that we have yet to see, and it doesn't look like there's going to be, that would be the thing that could tank this whole and it's possible it just tanks everything.
Because this could end up with exceptionally bad word of mouth, because one of the things that shapes people's experience in theater is your expectations versus what you get. And this has been marketed it. The marketing of this movie, the posters, the TV ads, the theatrical trailers lead you to believe that the Red Hawk is the primary antagonist of this film. Like if you're a normie and you're not watching YouTube reviews and reading the latest articles, you'd watch the commercials, because what action movie can you name where the primary villain isn't on the poster with their last name? Like, there's usually 2 or 3 names on a poster for the movie. One of those names is the main villain. Mm-hmm. And the names on this poster are Mackie and Ford. So you're like, okay, the Red Hawk is the bad guy. And he's only in it for 4 minutes. So he's definitely not the primary antagonist. Do you know who it is, John? I don't know who it is.
They can go in a variety of different directions. I'm afraid they're going to go in the group direction. And if they go in the group direction, this is just another version of Hydra. And we don't need to. That's not a good enough antagonist, because now you're just basically doing the same problem the show had with the Flag Smashers, where it's like, oh, yeah, what U.S. agent and Wyatt Russell's Captain America turning into U.S. agent. Yeah, he's the main antagonist, but really it's also the Flag Smashers in that group, only for you to defend that group at the end for some reason. But I think they could go in that same direction where it's like a bigger group. And there's a couple of groups they could do. But the problem would be nobody cares about group. Like, that's not going to do anything. And don't bring Zemo out either, because that would be... No. Yeah, we are at a bad... If they don't have a good villain, and like, say you're right, Dan, and it's not Hulk, then if you don't have a good villain show up, now you're really struggling, because now you have the fact of, if Hulk's not on there, then there's nothing compelling for the entirety of the movie. And what can really kill the movie is Falcon scenes. Falcon actually has some really cool scenes. Civil War is really, like, Civil War might be Falcon at his best with the flying scenes and how they utilize him and everything like that. Infinity War, we see all the things he does there. And so if he's not even cool, if he's not cooler than the scenes we've already seen in his own movie, a la Black Panther being better in Civil War than he was in his own movie, we could have a real problem.
He was fun in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, he was.
He was. I mean, he was good in, like, and so, because that...
What it just kills me, because they've kind of made every other character they've explored diversity in kind of their personality, but with him it's always been very, very one note to me, and I don't think that does him justice, because he is a diverse character, and I mean actor. He's a diverse actor, and I feel like they could have done more. I mean, even Thor, they started out all serious, and then they made him kind of a comic relief, and then they all these different things, but with Falcon, it's kind of been this one note, kind of do whatever Steve does kind of guy. And I just think that he's so much more than that. And I think that Mackie is so much more than that as an actor. And, I just watched Twisted Metal. I love him in Twisted Metal, and he is hilarious in Twisted Metal. And I just feel like they didn't explore any of that. And maybe they'll get to it in this movie. Maybe they'll get to it eventually, but I don't know. Trying to have him kind of be the character that he's always been and kind of be a headliner for the MCU, it's just not going to work.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Winter Soldier, the bad guy was Hydra. It was a big group, but they gave you Robert Redford as the face of Hydra. They gave you like a huge star to be the face of that. So, like, I mean, unless there's a secret cameo of this huge guy, I don't know.
But the big problem is, definitely Red Hulk looks worse than Thing. The big problem is all of Falcon's enemies are technically enemies that they've already run through. So you have, like, and this is more so comics accurate Falcon. Zemo, we've already gone through that. Zemo appears in the show. The Galactus thing is really more of a group ensemble thing, but not going to happen, right? Then you have people like Zola. Zola hasn't appeared Crossbones has appeared. Crossbones has appeared twice,
but he's not coming back.
He's not coming back. Right. Flag Smashers were in the show. U.S. Agent was in the show. Ultron is more of an ensemble thing. Red Skull was more of an ensemble thing. Batroc appeared in the show. So, like, who could like? And those are all his main villains.
A Taskmaster would have been good.
Yeah. And so yeah, you're right. Taskmaster is one. But then, so what does that leave? One of the main groups he fights against are the Thunderbolts, but apparently those two movies aren't connected.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Just to be silly.
I like the original Thunderbolts from the comics concept, where
I do too.
it was secretly Zola and a group of other villains pretending to be heroes. That was and like they didn't even tell anybody. It was revealed in the last panel of the first issue, and even in all the marketing, they didn't tell anybody. They could have made a movie like that. I mean, a casting
too smart.
Could have tipped you off, but I mean,
I don't know. I don't see the Thunderbolts being anything that's going to be overwhelmingly surprising. I think we kind of know what it is at this point. And does it look intriguing? It looks mildly intriguing, but I think it looks a lot better than this movie. I'm not gonna lie. I think it looks a lot better than Captain America.
I thought it looked good, but I think it's Black Widow too now. I'm totally.
I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they are setting up. I think they are setting up Val to be the big bad in that movie, and I just don't think it's going to work. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, I've never bought it, and I just don't. I don't think it's going to work. So,
but yeah, there's a lot of there's the same writer on this as Black Widow, and we've got a lot of Black Widow characters in this movie. With Taskmaster, Yelena. Red Guardian. This is Black Widow too, with some people thrown in, and Black Widow was not great. So
I don't know. They could technically. I just don't see how you're not going to connect it to anything. You could even connect it to Daredevil if you really wanted to, and have like Nobu appear. But I don't think they're going to have that happen either.
No.
And plus, Nobu already appeared in Daredevil. But nevertheless, it's like I just don't. I don't know.
So here we go. Red Hulk or the Thing. Which one looks worth? John says definitely Red Hulk.
Red Hulk looks really bad. I'll say like Red Hulk looks like comically bad. Like, I was very disappointed, and Dan and I have been going back and forth. I was very disappointed in how the Thing looked. I did not like how the Thing looked, and even though the Red Hulk I can kind of write off because I kind of knew I would hate this movie anyway, I had some hope that they would make the Thing something that did. I am just starting to wonder, after what, almost 2 decades of trying this now, if the Fantastic Four is just not something that works in any medium except the books. I'm starting to wonder that, because the animated series do not do well. We've tried live action movies. We've tried 3 of them. It didn't work. This is the 4th try. I'm just starting to think that the books are the only medium in which the Fantastic Four can be done well. I don't know what you guys think, but anyway.
But I think, okay, I watched the teaser on my phone and I thought the Thing looked great. But then I watched the teaser.
We argued about it. We argued about it, Dan.
Yeah, we did.
Then you watched it on your TV.
But then I had to admit, I watched it on my TV, and the CG was a little bit more sketchy once I had it on a big screen. Now, when I go to see Fantastic Four in an IMAX theater, I don't know. And my daughter, I showed them the teaser, and my daughter thought he looked like E.T. She said the Thing looks like E.T. And I was like, oh.
That's fair.
Man, I can't see that now.
You think he looks worse? Thing looks worse?
I think no, he doesn't. He doesn't.
There's no way he looks worse.
But the Thing doesn't look as good as I wanted.
I think Thing doesn't look as good as he should for this movie, and that's disappointing. Right. That's disappointing. But Red Hulk looks so much worse.
But again, they only spent $180 million.
That's true. That's true.
So the Red Hulk can only look so good.
Well, Red Hulk, it looked like they spent more time trying to capture Harrison Ford's likeness and not what the Hulk's likeness is supposed to look like. And so that's why it looks so full. It's the same thing when we saw Scar in that She-Hulk finale. and it's like you didn't even try.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you just
It's like this
you
dude
Yeah,
didn't
it's
even-
just a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's just a big cartoon. And
Yeah.
yeah, if I mean, it's not like Ang Lee Hulk bad, but it's not good. I'm really, really not excited about seeing that actually on the
it's
big
only
screen.
4 minutes. So now it's only 4 minutes. So maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, but then that's even worse. All right, like Godzilla only appears in the Godzilla movie from 2014 for like 8 minutes, but at least the 8 minutes are worth it when you get it.
Yeah.
If the 4 minutes aren't even worth it, it's just a weird thing. And man, it's just not smart to try and really promote Red Hulk like that, only for Red Hulk to not show up like that. Because now you're kind of
The
lying
poster.
in your marketing a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a
I mean,
little
that's
bit.
the poster, the shield and the fist. I mean, that's the poster. And I don't know.
I mean, we
I
get Doomsday for longer than 4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's real, but I saw a promo months back that Regal's going to have a popcorn bucket that is the Red Hulk breaking the shield in half. It's like a big model of the Red Hulk with like two halves of the shield. It is just like, if you're going in the theater and if you're sitting there with your Red Hulk popcorn bucket watching 4 minutes of Red Hulk, that's not going to be.
I hope that's not true.
I'm not going on the
that's
quest for you this time, Dan. I'm not doing it.
Okay, no,
I'm not going on
I
the
don't need a Red
popcorn
Hulk
bucket
popcorn
quest.
bucket.
Yeah,
let's see.
It's not smart. It's not smart.
No, but the cast of this movie feels feels
Seth's not even in it.
Harrison Ford, Seth
Oh,
Rollins.
Seth's not in it?
No,
Okay.
he's
not in it.
Harrison Ford.
No, he ended up on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Oh, he ended up getting cut. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Giancarlo
Well, there you go.
Esposito,
So he's not
Tyler.
even going to be used.
Well, Liv Tyler.
Oh, she's playing Ross, right? She's playing She's playing his daughter, right? She's played him since Ang Lee's Hulk. Was she here?
No,
she was there then, right?
She was in Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk.
Incredible Hulk. Oh, it was Jennifer Connelly in the first one, right?
In Ang Lee,
I believe.
Yeah.
So we're bringing back. I mean, this is the first time people from, well, I don't know, Thunderbolt Ross carried through from Incredible Hulk. Abomination's been in things.
Abomination, yeah.
So they're not completely written off Ed Norton and the Incredible Hulk and all that. So that movie, it's
well, they wrote off Ed Norton. They just didn't write off anybody else.
Right. Yeah. They're still claiming that movie, which I think I do think the Incredible Hulk is an underrated entry into the MCU. I think it's a good movie. Yeah. I mean, that's a good looking Hulk.
Yeah.
I'd say
when
that
he picks up the car and uses it as boxing gloves, that's the coolest thing that we saw up to that point.
It's a great face off.
Yeah. And that's like they one up the comics. When he ripped the car in half and uses it as boxing gloves, it's like, I never saw that in the comic. Why haven't they been doing that for 50 years? You know?
And the cool thing is, I don't think anybody really, because Abomination was always the match for the Hulk in the Avengers, like always. And so it was kind of funny that they never really looked for that in any of the previous installments, so it's kind of funny that Ang Lee's Hulk, I think he did what, Absorbing Man. It's been so
I think so. And then he fought that army and everything. Yeah,
it was stupid. So
you mean the Hulk is the Shrek is the Hulk? That's that movie.
Yeah.
Barry Allen is slow. I am encouraged by the F4 trailer. Maybe it can help Marvel rebound.
That's the hope. That is the hope.
I'm not that encouraged. I'm just not. I can't get on board.
But it's the only thing that can help them rebound, because Thunderbolts and Cap probably aren't going to do it, and Daredevil, I think everybody's just going to look at it as its own thing. So you kind of only have for it.
I feel like it's all in on this. It's like either it's going to be either it's going to be a silent reboot, okay, which it looks like it can be, but if it's a silent reboot and everything is just what I fear, which is that the Fantastic Four just doesn't work in this medium, that could be a terrible way to kick off your reboot. So I don't know. I'm really I have to see it. I have to see it. And in this trailer, I don't see anything about Reed. Reed is absent from the trailer. I mean, one of the most important characters in all of Marvel, and we saw nothing in this trailer.
And he told you all about
him.
dinner. He told you all about
Dinner.
family supper, Tim.
Yeah, they show one scene of him writing on a chalkboard, and that's it.
Yeah, and he doesn't seem like Reed in most of the trailer. I mean, you know, Reed doesn't put on a suit and spin his wife around, and that's not Reed. I don't know.
They're gonna learn real quick, very early, if it works or not. Because if Reed doesn't work, the rest of the movie doesn't work, and it doesn't matter how good the actors are.
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, this is going to be, because here's the thing. The Fantastic Four is a perfect spot to launch a new continuity, because it's where the original one started. It started with the Fantastic Four, but we don't know how well they translate, and they would be easier characters to roll in to an existing continuity. Even though they're a great rebooting point, they're also the kind of characters that might have benefited from Marvel owning them a long time ago and being rolled into an existing universe, because it's easier to establish how smart Reed is when he can play off of Tony Stark, Hank Pym, Bruce Banner. When he can be in that room and be smarter than all of them, then you know how smart he is. But when it's just him and like random other scientists, you just really, it's harder to get it. So I don't know. I think both look terrible.
I can't disagree. It just doesn't look like it doesn't. Neither one looks like anything that I'm actually going to enjoy. I mean, maybe it'll surprise me, but I don't know. We'll see.
Fantastic Four looks like typical late phase MCU trash. I don't know. I thought the trailer didn't look terrible. I would hope that like maybe they polished the thing a little bit, because again, the CG looked great on my phone. I do feel like, do we think that he's not in the shorts just to save money?
Yes.
That he gets the suit.
Yes. I think it is easier. It is easier to do the special effects with the suit.
Yeah.
And I think that the suit makes less sense than anything that I've seen, even in the previous Fox movies. And so I don't know what to think about
Actually,
it yet.
you're right.
I just don't. I don't think the stretchy suit makes any sense other than to make it easier on the effects team. I can't think of a single reason
in
to
the
do
comics
it.
every now and again, like in Ultimate Fantastic Four, you'll get the thing in like a singlet, right? But he's still rocking the pair of feet. You know,
no boots.
No boots.
Yeah.
He's an invulnerable rock monster.
How does the thing get boots on? That's what I want to. I really want to know how the thing gets boots.
On. You're going. You know what? You're going too realistic. You can't do it. It'll just destroy your mindset.
Yeah, but you know, and I don't know if one thing in the teaser is when he clapped.
Yeah.
Even more than the look, that kind of threw me off because it didn't sound like rocks hitting each other. It sounded. It sounded like a person clapping.
It was.
Yeah. So, like, why would a rock monster make that sound?
Why did they focus on that? Why did they focus on that too?
Yeah. Why?
That's the kind of stuff that just drives me crazy. You know what I mean? And there's never, you know, the reason I absolutely hated the first movie was not just because it was bad, but I think they focused way too much on Ben. I think they focused way too much on, you know, he can't drink a glass without breaking it, and he can't sit on a couch without breaking it, and he can't walk through a door without breaking. I mean, you know, they focused way too much on that stuff. And when I saw the scene in the trailer of him watching the movie, watching the TV of him doing the interview before he got deformed, it was one of those things that kind of made me think, okay, so this is going to be a story about Ben. You know, Ben's angle in the story is going to be very much the same as that 2005 movie. And that's not a good angle, in my opinion. And Dan and I have talked about this. That's something that was examined in the comic books and done very well. And it just kind of harkens back to, is this really the best way to tell the story in cinematic form? I just don't know if it is.
I
But
feel like this man, this monster, the whole Reed is guilty over Ben. Ben can't be a man. Like that can be done well. It has not been done yet.
yeah,
So we'll see.
Yeah,
I
we'll
mean,
see with that one.
yeah.
I,
And
I
like when he
still think
does,
he'll be better.
when he
I think
does,
he'll be better than
yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
When he
that-
licks
I-
his finger,
that was dumb. But
That,
I
it
was
should
just
sound
gonna say.
like it should sound
He's
like
on the-
rocks grating. It should sound like scraping sound.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I just think they're gonna try and mascot him. And
Yeah.
he's not really a mascot. He's not meant to be a mascot. And I think that's what
No.
they're gonna go with that.
I mean, they
No.
didn't go that way with Korg. Whenever Korg bumped up against anything, it sounded like rocks grinding against it. You know what I mean? And that I just,
Yeah.
I don't know what their end game is here. What are they
Yeah.
thinking that Ben? Because if
the thing,
you know,
the ever loving blue eyed thing is not cute and cuddly. He's got to be.
No.
he's
No. God.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
it's
That's gonna
clobbering
be
time,
tough.
man. I mean,
Yeah.
So
you know.
do we all know how this movie ends? Does it end with them somehow being transported into the current
Yes.
MCU
Yes.
timeline? Is
It'll
Yes, it
probably
does.
end with it'll probably end with an incursion. And if it ends with an incursion, that's how you get both timelines connected, or at least get them into the timeline. But incursions are, man, that's kind of a cop, because now we would have had Doctor Strange rip apart time. We would have had Loki and the TVA and all of that with the multiverse. And now we're going to incursion events. It's literally just saying we have a multiverse over and over and over again. We just put a different name into it. And to be fair, incursion is a thing that happens in the comics, but you don't have any other setup. So now that's going to be tough.
Yeah,
It's going to be messy, man.
do we
I
want to
think
skip
that-
through? I mean, do we know the runtime yet? I don't know if we do.
I don't
but
know. Yeah.
Do we want 90 minutes plus of
No.
watching this movie, knowing exactly what happens at the end? You're sitting
Yeah.
watching this, this mid-century modern paradise for an hour and a half to 2 hours, knowing that nothing that happens in this current environment matters, because these four characters from this world are going to get transported to a completely different timeline at the end of the movie. And we're never going to visit this timeline again.
I feel like the end of the movie is going to be like the four of them sacrificing themselves. You know, it's going to be some huge cosmic galactic event with Galactus. And then then the post credit is going to be them. And that's where we're going to see the post credit is going to be them. It caused some kind of incursion event, and that just kind of bleeds into what I'm trying to think, what was the run that did that in the comics with the X-Men and the Avengers? I forget what the run was, but it really, even though it technically connected the dots, it still made you say that was kind of a cop out. You know what I mean? Like it's like it technically connected the dots, but was that really the most efficient way to have done it rather than just starting over? Probably not.
And wonder though, are they going to add the Beyonder and things like that? Because that comes into play too. And I guess people kind of would know who the Beyonder is because of What If. Not that everybody watched it, but some people did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They were using Doctor Strange as a way to kind of act as like a Beyonder because people knew who he was. But technically, all of that happens is because of him. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
it's
they
gonna be a
lose.
rough one.
Maybe they lose and Galactus eats their Earth.
Yeah. I mean, you never know.
then they have to come to another timeline to try to save a different Earth from Galactus. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
So then you're copying the Flash, what he did in Justice League.
It's just,
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I think, and I don't know, this is what I think they should have done. And I really don't have enough faith in them to think they've done it. And they've announced too many things, but I think that they could have backdoored this to where if Cap 4 and Thunderbolts performed poorly, which they're probably going to, whether they're good or not, they're going to underperform. I mean, we can all agree that, So they could make Fantastic Four the reboot. We've seen this trailer and it feels like it doesn't have any ties. So if there really aren't any ties, they can just announce like this is the new continuity right here. It all starts again right here.
Yeah.
And I understand why they don't want to do it yet, right? Because they saw what happened with DC. DC said, like, here's 6 movies that don't matter. Please go see them.
That's gonna be tough, man. That's gotta be tough. I will say this. I gotta head out, but before I go, I will say this. Fantastic Four is very similar to Superman, but in a different way. If Superman can't get itself going, DC as a company will probably know this is going to be trouble, and it's going to be hard to save it from that point. If Fantastic Four can't get it going, Marvel Studios pretty much needs to change their entire plan.
They're gonna need a complete teardown at that point, because this was it. Yep.
That's it. Yeah. So if it so me and Tim are just hoping it tanks hard so we get a whole two.
All right, guys.
All right,
John. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for so much for joining us, man. So
later.
Appreciate it.
Later,
take care, buddy.
Find John Automates on @JohnAutomates here on YouTube. It's in the description. So
all right.
Yeah. So yeah. He hung in there longer than I think he intended to, but
I think so. But hey, I appreciate everything John did there. So awesome.
So yeah, the MCU though, it is in I really feel like in trying not to tank Captain America 4 and Thunderbolts and maybe a couple of Disney Plus TV shows, they're doing the Fantastic Four harm. Because this movie is set in a totally different timeline. It's a period piece. And I think excitement around it would be 100 times more if they were like, this is the beginning of a new continuity.
I think that Disney has a sickness. And that sickness is that they do not focus on building a good cinematic world anymore. Okay. They don't focus on actually what would make this an interesting movie series anymore. What they focus on is they focus more on the rights to the property that they just purchased and what they could ultimately do with it. They just opened up the Marvel theme park over in California, and all they're thinking about is adding as many important properties to that particular park as they can, because they want that to be a destination for nerds and kids and everything. That's what they want. Is they want to focus on the park. They did the exact same thing when they bought Star Wars. They built Galaxy's Edge. It wasn't about a cinematic universe that made any sense to them. That it never was about that. It was about what can I sell at this theme park that people will feel like they have to buy, and that they will feel like they have to take a trip here so that they can go see it. That's what it's always been about with Disney since they acquired these properties. And what really stinks is it wasn't always that way. Particularly with Marvel, it wasn't always that way. They seem to be focused in the Infinity Saga on actually building a world. They're not at that stage right now. They're at the stage where it's all about what can we do to drive people to these theme parks, to buy these toys, to do all these other things that we want them to do. And I feel like I'm getting a lot of that from what they're doing lately. And that's going to be the main issue until they change their focus off of that and focus on building an actual good cinematic universe and building events around the releases of their movies again. It's not going to be anything that anybody's going to want to go see.
Yeah, the key thing is to get the next job or the job you want. You got to do well with the job you have, is the kind of thing. So if you want to sell merch based on a movie, you have to have a good movie, or at least one that people like. You know, people aren't going to buy merch for a movie they don't like. That's not, that doesn't, you're not going to ride a ride based. So they got Fantastic Four, and they're like, oh, it was most popular in the 60s. We'll set it in the 60s, and we'll be able to have Fantastic Four stuff at Tomorrowland until we are able to add it to the Marvel theme park. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
I get it. And like at first, I was iffy about why it was a period piece. I didn't make sense to me because Fantastic Four, yes, it was originally launched in the '60s, but so was Spider-Man. You know,
a lot of these were launched in the 60s. The
right?
X-Men. I mean,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
look, I'm not gonna say, but and I think one of the things that just kills me about what they're doing with the Fantastic Four in particular is the timeline that they're focusing on in this universe is something that they could have picked any timeline because they completely changed the universe, apparently.
yeah.
Okay, based on some of the things that we saw in the trailer. And if that's the case, then they could have picked modern. They could have. I mean, it just didn't make any sense. And I don't know. I have serious qualms or doubts about whether or not the Fantastic Four is ever going to work in a cinematic thing. I think the only time I've ever seen them on screen where it seemed to work was Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and that's when they were very, very secondary. I feel like everything else that I've seen them in, it has not worked. And so even the old animated series, I was not a fan of the old Fantastic Four animated series. There's a reason that it's not as highly regarded as Spider-Man or X-Men or Batman, the animated series. I feel like I feel like the only thing that I've ever seen them in is Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and that's when they were kind of not as important.
I feel like it's a group that, because of the family dynamic of the characters and the way their stories play out, they do lend themselves much more to a show or a series than a movie. I think, because you could play on those family dynamics a lot better in a show, but the budget wouldn't justify making a show, especially with the viewership that Disney Plus gets. This money you'd have to spend to do the thing
Yes.
well would
They're
be.
also a very interactive group. They're not an exclusive group with their own stories very often. They
Yeah,
interact with the Avengers, they interact with the X-Men, they interact with Spider-Man. I mean, they're in New York just like everybody else. And so it just kind of kills me that the way they're introducing this movie is it's pretty much them and that's it,
yeah,
And so
because there's two types of Fantastic Four stories. They are always exploring other dimensions across space and time and realities, and they're just so far away from Earth or even our universe that they're in the microverse, or that they're fighting a nihilist in whatever dimension that he's in, and all that kind of stuff. And that's when it's just the four of them. Usually when they're on Earth fighting something, it is a galaxy destroying level threat.
yeah.
And everybody else jumps in because everybody else would, because it's a galaxy destroying level threat that warrants the attention of the Fantastic Four. The only earthbound fights that they usually have that don't involve other people is when they square off against Doctor Doom, which
Yeah.
frequently escalates to in a full-on Fantastic Four and the Avengers and everybody else type battle.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
I don't know. And they do interact so well. Like who wouldn't want to watch the Thing versus the Hulk in live action battling in New York?
I mean, and we've seen it in the books so many times, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a great matchup for several reasons. And we've seen it so many times in the books, and you just want to see it again and you want to see it done well. But the things that I just don't know that that's anything that they're interested in. They're more interested in pushing the property so that they can have it at the theme park, or so that they can just have the merchandise on shelves for Christmas. That's more what they're interested in than actually making a good cinematic world that makes sense.
The Hulk has looked progressively less convincing ever since the first Avengers movie.
And the way they've done the character has just been odd choices all the way around. You know, they were having him be, of course, the mindless Hulk monster for years, and then all of a sudden he was a little better thinking, and by the time we got to Ragnarok, and then he ended up being on full on smart Hulk in Endgame, and I think all of those were very, very odd directions. I know that they're directions that are taken in the books, but I feel like it's not the groundwork that you originally laid in this universe, and it doesn't make sense. And so I'm very much interested to see what they'll do with this, and maybe it'll surprise me. I hope it does, but I have very little hope. So
yeah, I will have more hope if at some point between now and the release date they announce that this is the beginning
the
of a
reboot.
whole new continuity. This is not going to
And
tie in.
And I just don't think they're going to do that, because I think that they want people to buy tickets to stuff that leads up to it. So I don't
Yeah.
think they're going to do that.
If I know that this is going to tie in, right, then I know the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just hard to like really invest yourself into watching a film for the very first time when you know the end. You know, it would be like standing there in line to go see The Sixth Sense, and spoiler alert, everybody, for this over 20-year-old movie. And somebody walks out, it's like, Bruce Willis is a ghost the whole time. It would not be a fun movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to want to go see it then. Like, and we're walking into the Fantastic Four going, okay, this is in a totally different timeline. And by the end of this movie, they're going to be transported to the timeline that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't need 2 hours to end. Like, if I know where it ends, then, I mean, I know in every action movie, we know how it ends. The good guy wins,
Mm-hmm.
But exactly how he wins is not a foregone conclusion. I mean, so.
Yeah. And I think that's why I think this movie could be a little different. I'm very intrigued by the fact that they're introducing Galactus and Silver Surfer and a lot of other interesting wrinkles into this whole thing. So we'll see what happens, but I don't know. I'm very much saying that I believe both of these movies, Captain America 4 and Fantastic Four, are not going to be what Disney needs as the shot in the arm that they were expecting out of either one of them. And I think that we're going to look back on this year and say that they totally whiffed on the opportunities because they were kind of focused on pushing the wrong agenda.
I still think, I know John thinks Cap 4 has the best chance.
No.
I think it has the worst chance, actually.
Yeah, I think Thunderbolts is going to surprise some people, but it's not going to be well promoted. And I think that Fantastic Four will be it'll be all right, but it won't be wow. And we need wow, honestly. So
I think it has the best chance of being a good movie. I do, because I would have said Thunderbolts a while ago, but the more
I'll see.
The more I figure about the ties to Black Widow, the more I'm like, this is going to be very meh, because Black Widow was very meh,
Yeah.
So it's going to be real, to say what my kids say. They'll yell at me if they ever watch this, but they won't watch it. It's very mid. It's very mid, so
Very mid.
And I feel like Thunderbolts might end up being pretty mid also. So I feel like the only shot for good Marvel is Fantastic Four, and I don't know if we're gonna get it. The mid-century modern set design looks really cool. I will say that was cool. I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Pedro Pascal's English or American accent just weirds me out.
I feel like I don't know. I just feel like that's what's going to make or break the movie. I will know within 5 minutes of Reed Richards whether or not we have something worth finishing. And that's going to be the problem, is I don't think I'm going to want to finish the movie. So we'll see. But
do you think they didn't put any stretching in because they haven't figured out how they're going to do the stretching effects?
No, I think they didn't put anything about Reed at all in the trailer on purpose, because I think that they know it's off the beaten path. We already knew that. We knew that he was off the beaten path of the typical Reed Richards, and I feel like they know that whatever we have is going to be criticized, and they want to show us as little as possible until the actual movie. That's what I think is actually coming. I think they're going to show us as little Reed as possible. They might show us a stretchy scene or two in the upcoming trailers, but I do not see them showing us the actual personality of Reed Richards until we get into the movie, and that's going to be the problem. 5 minutes in, people are going to determine whether or not they're going to give Pedro a shot as Reed Richards, and if they don't, this is going to be an enormous bomb, because the movie will not work without him as Reed. It won't.
Yeah.
If you don't have Reed, you don't have the Fantastic Four.
No, he's the impetus for everything. And
that's it.
He's the one, the reason they're always in these far-flung adventures and other dimensions and galaxies is because of all the experiments he's always doing. You know, that's he always gets them in like not messes, they're explorers. This is what they do, you know. So yeah, I don't feel like they have confidence in the power set. I don't know that they like the stretchy power as a power.
I think that, like me, they don't necessarily think that these characters will work well cinematically. I think that they think that this is going to be more of a story than it is a story about the powers and the characters. Try to build off the personalities of the characters and get the performances from the actors, but I just don't know how well that's going to land. And ultimately, I think that this movie, the timing of releasing this movie just could not be worse. Sandwiched between two really bad movies, okay, that we've got right here, and then next year, which just does not look promising at all either. I think that this is going to be something that they're going to look back on and say, we probably should have either waited until the brand new continuity, or we should have done this like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
again,
anyway,
it's easy to introduce them when you have those other characters around.
Mm-hmm. But they're all gone.
Yeah. Yeah. If Reed could play off Tony Stark, then you
or Banner.
Or Banner.
Yeah.
It really just lets the whole thing go. What is next year is Secret War and then Doomsday? Is that in the same year or something?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I'm not looking forward to much in this universe. So
yeah,
it is what it is, man. But
yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts on anything else, or?
No, I think we've got it. I think that's what we've got for this week, everybody. Again, like, share, subscribe. You can find John Automates at John Automates, and we'll be back next Thursday.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Take care.
Oh, yeah. And also, hey, find us at Nerd Champs and our brand new short channel, ADHD Nerd Champs. So shorts only on ADHD Nerd Champs, videos on Nerd Champs, and right here at Nerdside Champs.
And we might change it. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, who knows?